How many of you, I've been coming to SEMA now for the last 3 years, have seen me speak before? Just curious by raise of hand. 2 or 3 people? Okay, thanks for coming back. I appreciate it. And how many of you are very clear on what the title of this presentation was? Is video and images. Okay, so that's what we're kind of focus on today. Okay, by raise of hand, I just want to kind of get an assessment of the room. How many of you are actively shooting video on social? About half of you. Okay, how many of you by raise of hand are doing Facebook Live videos? Okay, very few. Okay. So what today is really going to be about is content production, specifically on images and video. Somebody asked me earlier today, I was doing one of the small biz tech segments, and they said, you know, where do you see as the future? And if I had to kind of sum that up in one word, I'd say video. I really believe that video is here now and is only going to get greater in terms of how people are consuming content. Specifically because it's tougher and tougher to read on these devices and easier to watch on these devices, right? And I'm going to show you guys some statistics that you know really kind of defend that case. But I think most of you probably, since you're in here, know that is indeed the future. Now, who has been the most dominant player in the video space up until the last couple of years? YouTube, right? Who's trying to eat YouTube's lunch? Facebook, right? So one of the tips I want to give you right off the bat is if Facebook is the environment that you are doubling down on, which is going to be most of us, you really want to be careful about uploading YouTube videos to Facebook, right? Use Facebook as a native platform for your content, and you'll see greater engagement. Okay, does that make sense to everybody? They're competitors. They don't like each other. Who owns YouTube? Google. So Google and YouTube play well together. Who does Facebook own or partner with? Instagram. So they play very well together. But Google and Facebook don't play very well together, and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram don't really play all that well together. Okay? So make sure that if you are trying to get the greatest engagement in the most efficient time possible on Facebook, post natively to that site. All right? So as we go along here, if you guys are tweeting or doing any of that fun stuff, you can use the hashtag SEMA 2017. That's my handle for Instagram or Twitter or any other platform that you're on. And a question I often get when it comes to my presentations is the slides. You know, how fast are you going to take notes? You know, there might be something on there that's hard to read. I am happy to send you my slides. I do that with pretty much every presentation. The only difference that you'll see is I'll strip out the images just to not make it so large. Plus, I can't say that every single image I've gotten full permission for, so I don't want to blast it across the universe. So it'll just be the content less some of the images, okay? Is that a deal? And I would just need you to throw your business card anywhere up in this radius before you leave today, and I will email you the PowerPoint presentation. Fair enough? I also have another document that I'll show you in a little bit that I'm going to email you as well. I got to turn this guy on for it to work. That's step one. There we go. So a really quick sort of definition of what we're talking about. Video is pretty self-explanatory, but as far as how images work, I went and checked out some of you guys to see what you're doing on there. So you've got your simple image with text. So you post an image to social with text either above or with Instagram below. And as you know, when you start to move to platforms like Instagram, the photo takes up, they want you to use photos about 90% of the real estate, and 10% is text. Now, you can get away with text on Facebook, but you clearly don't get the kind of engagement, you don't get the kind of real estate on people's feeds when you don't put images. So the first thing I want to really discourage you from doing is posting content to Facebook without some kind of image. Okay, because just from real estate perspective, you're getting a lot more, obviously, with the image than you would be with the text. So that's the first layer. And then this is just something, a powerful statistic. Facebook posts with images see almost 2.5 times more engagement than those without images, right? And that kind of goes without saying, but just a friendly reminder there. So then you've got image with text overlay. And that means that you have a nice looking image and then you actually have content overlaid on top of it. Now that could be your brand, or that could be some words on there, that could be a tip, it could be something like that. But that's an image overlay. And one of the things I'm going to show you is a magic secret resource to how people do this. Back in 3 or 4 years ago, it would take a graphic designer to be able to do something like this for you. Now today, it's a couple clicks of a button, okay? And I'll show you how to do that. Then there's the memes, right? Very, people people love to share these things. They're easy to find, they're easy to search, and they're easy to create, and they tend to be pretty funny. So oftentimes when you're looking for quick opportunities to lighten the mood, get above the noise, get in front of your audience, memes are a great way to do that. And the simple difference between that and what I just shared before is it's typically an image that people recognize with some type of content above it, right? That's a meme. Most of you guys have seen that. Then there's an infographic. Infographics get a ton of shares, way more than blog articles and things of that nature. So in the olden days, and when I say the olden days, like 5 years ago, what people would share is an article of 7 tips, to fully customize blank car, to get the most out of, fuel efficient, whatever you're trying to offer to your audience. Now you'll take those 7 tips and you'll create an image with those tips in there. That's called an infographic. All the tips in one image without having to read anything. Something I want to tell you guys, and you probably have seen this yourselves, is people don't read paragraphs anymore, do they? They scan and they digest bullets. And an infographic is simply the meat of your article in a nice, easy to see graphic. And something I encourage you to use when you're trying to deliver value to your audience, okay? So that's an infographic. I'll also show you how to create those. Infographics are liked and shared on social 3 times more than any other type of content. Okay? So then we've got live video, which we're going to play with a little bit in here today. I would say that the single biggest feature that I want you to double down on in 2018 is live video in either Facebook or Instagram. The reason that is, the secret to why that is I watch Facebook because they are the behemoth. They're the 800-pound gorilla in the room, and we watch what they're promoting, what they're trying to do. What they're trying to do, as we talked about earlier, is eat YouTube's lunch. They're really pushing video, specifically live video. You've seen it before. You navigate your phone, and then all of a sudden in the corner it says Stephanie Smith is live. Have you ever seen a post from Stephanie Smith show up as almost like an advertisement on your phone, and yet she's getting that organically just because she clicked the live button? Have you seen that before? Most of you have, right? As you're scrolling through. Facebook is really promoting not just video, but live video. So as marketers, we need to take advantage of that. So what I really want you guys to put on your late 2017, early 2018 goals is to figure out what you could do as live segments. And we're going to dive deep in there in just a moment. So a couple statistics just to kind of, give you some context behind why this is so important. Cisco projects that global internet traffic from video will make up 80% of all internet traffic by 2019. 4 times as many consumers would prefer to watch a video than read about it, and that's from the Content Marketing Institute. And using the word video, I found this very interesting. In an email subject line, boosts open rates by 19% and click-throughs by 65%. So even in your email marketing, we want to find ways to add multimedia at minimum, but potentially play around with video in there as well. And we're doing that. And by the way, just a quick little background. Should have probably started with this. I own a social media marketing company. I've been doing it for almost 10 years. And so everything I'm teaching you up here, we're doing in the field. We run the social media accounts for about 50 different businesses all over the world. And so we test. And the things that don't work, I don't talk to you about in here. And the things that do work, I do. And that's how I bring this content to you. So we test it in the field and then use it as best practices for you guys. So one of the things that I'm kind of somewhat famous in my own little niche for is talking about not being a jack of all social media sites, master of none, and instead focusing on a few and doing them really well. So I'm here today to tell you, and I'll tell you this more tomorrow, that you don't have to be on every social media platform. In fact, I discourage you from doing that. Because what happens is when you try to be on all of these, you do them all either mediocre at best or poorly. So instead, what I would prefer you do and encourage you to do is pick one or two, and because we only have a short amount of time together, I'm going to tell you what those are, Facebook and Instagram, and do them really well. And when you really get in a good rhythm with those, I'll allow you to start exploring Twitter, and maybe even, YouTube's obviously a good one, but oftentimes, one of the examples I like to always share is you guys remember Google Plus as a social network? Remember that? It was the shiny new penny syndrome of 2013. And everybody was jumping on Google Plus. Well, where are they today? As a social network, it's dead. So now, what's the shiny new penny of 2017 and 18? Social-wise. Snapchat, right? Good job. Everybody's talking Snapchat. So before you go plant your flag on Snapchat, I want you to think about what the demographic is on Snapchat. Does anybody know what the general demographic is on Snapchat? Ages 13 to 26 dominate Snapchat. So the question you have to ask yourself, a very simple question, is who's your customer? Are they is the main medium of them ages 13 to 26? If not, you may want to at least prioritize them lower than the other couple sites. If not, ignore them for now. Millennials primarily focus still on Instagram. The rest of the world and above, Facebook, right? But a very young market on Snapchat. Now that may make sense for some of you. I don't disagree with that. But it may not make sense for a lot of you as well. So you really got to think about where your customer is on social and then meet them there. Don't try to be everywhere at once. So keep it simple. Don't be a jack of all social media sites, master of none. This is a little preview to the new book coming out, which is going to dive even deeper into focusing on a few and ignoring the rest. So your content strategy, this is what I want you, if you're taking pictures, take a picture of this slide, write it down. But your overall goal with content is to stay top of mind with prospects until they become customers. Is that fair? Because here's the challenge that we have. People learn about us in January, but don't do business with us until June, July, October, November. So how do we stay on their radar? Or even when they become customers, how do we get them to become repeat customers? But how do we stay on their radar? We've got to stay connected with them, and we don't want to annoy them or frustrate them. And that's where social media content marketing is so powerful. If we can do it in a way that we're adding value to them and they're enjoying taking in the content that we're producing, we can stay top of mind with them. And when they're in buy mode, we get them every time. Okay? But never forget this as business people, out of sight, out of mind. Your product's not so good that people are just going to naturally remember you forever. We got to get back in their face. And using some of these things that we're talking about now is the way to do that. So here are your content categories. We're going to dive in here. This is what I want you guys to think about when it comes to creating content. I either want you to teach me, so that means adding value, being a resource for me, a utility, adding value to me. I want you to entertain me. So you're very lucky in the industry that you guys are in. I don't get more excited for any other conference that I do all year round than I do for SEMA, because the products and the things that you see around here are so cool. And I got to tell you, there's a lot of industries that I can't say that for. So you've got to double down on that. You got to take advantage of how cool your products are. All right? Entertain me. So you don't always have to make me laugh like you asked about earlier. You can entertain me but just by how cool your products are, or the products that you help build or help create. I want you to humanize your brand. Don't forget that people like doing business with people, not brands, most of the time, especially small businesses. So we need to capitalize on that as well. If you're partnering with a charity organization locally, you need to promote it and talk about it on social. If Stephanie Smith just celebrated her 20th year at your company, you need to celebrate that. If Steve just had his first son, and he put him on top of one of the cars that you guys do, you need to show that. Facebook's a social environment. It's not a business environment. That's the biggest challenge for us. People aren't there to do business. They're there to socialize. But we as businesses can socialize with our customers and prospects. We just have to do it in a human way, right? So be transparent, be authentic, and be human. Don't forget that on Facebook. And then indirectly sell. So I talked to some of you out here, and this is my biggest sales takeaway for you. When it comes to social and when it comes to content, let your customers be your sales force. When you think about selling, don't sell on social. Don't tell people about your products. Don't tell them about your dashboard cams. Don't tell them about your services. Let your customers do it for you. Think about that. It's more trustworthy. It's more authentic. It comes from them. They say it better than you do anyway. Whenever when I talk about me as a speaker, it doesn't come out right. I don't say it right, but when you say it, or when Zane says it, the guy who runs SEMA, it's so much better, so much more authentic, so much realer, so much more real. Credibility. So let your customers be your sales force. So here's something I want you guys to write down if you're taking notes. Never let a verbal testimonial go unpublished. Never let a verbal testimonial go unpublished. What that means is somebody, interacts with you in a product or service and they shake your hand and they say, I just want to tell you, man, from start to finish, really excellent working with you. I want you to say thank you and don't let go of his or her hand. And I want you to drag them over to their computer or their phone. And I want them to write something somewhere. It needs to be on a Facebook recommendation, which you guys know you can do on your business page. It needs to be on a Yelp review, which we'll talk more about tomorrow when we talk about websites and search engine optimization. But it needs to be published somewhere. So not just you, because if you're the only one seeing it, that's terrible. And I have that happen to me sometimes. Man, you were best breakout I saw all week long. Thanks, man. I walk away, I'm like, shit, I didn't even do my own tip, man. Grab them, have them post it, tweet it, something. So get your customers. And here's one other thing. This one's huge, and you guys have seen it before. And you read something that somebody said, you're like, they may have said that, maybe they didn't. But when you watch something somebody says, it's much more authentic. So if you can just, again, if somebody is just raving about you guys, just say, hold on one second. It would mean the world to me, and it's only going to take a minute. Can I hit my video real quick? Would you mind just sharing that? It literally made my day to hear it, and I'd love to be able to share it on our Facebook page. Do you mind? No, go ahead. I'm horizontal. We'll talk about that more in a minute. Hit record and capture that testimonial. Got it? Indirectly sell using your customers. And then last but not least, just always remember this when it comes to content. Always talk in terms of their interests, not your own. The way I learned this was Super Bowl Sunday 5 years ago. I decided to go online where everybody was watching the Super Bowl and give them what I thought was the best social media advice I'd ever heard in my entire life, or at least ever thought of. Wrote it in there, crickets, nothing. Didn't get a comment, a like, anything. And what I realized, and it hit me on the top of the head, is this Super Bowl Sunday, nobody could give a hoot about social media tips. All they cared about was Super Bowl. So the next year, I offered my book for the person who guessed the score the closest. And I got like 30 comments and 65 likes. And it was just a reminder that we need to talk in terms of what they're thinking about. So what that means is, there's a term called newsjacking, which we can use strategically, but be careful with it. And that just means things that are happening in the news. And if you can somehow relate it to your product or service, you'll get more engagement that way. An example of that might be some sort of law or something that your industry is talking about that you guys know a lot about. There's a lot of negative news right now you have to be careful with. Don't go political, that type of thing. But if there's, the Olympics are coming up in the wintertime. If you can somehow integrate your content through the Olympics, that's what everyone's going to be thinking about come February. Okay? And, the World Series just happened, right? So just, if it happens to be a local team, then obviously that's what you talk about, right? So go local. Always talk in terms of their interests, and newsjacking, just be careful with that. Don't, put a picture of Trump and say something, just not a good idea. We'll leave it at that. So real quick, educate. Does it add value to me? So one way to do this, and the kind of the action I want you to think of, is think about frequently asked questions that your customers or prospects ask all the time. What are just one question that you get all the time? Write that down or think about it. That's content. That's something that you can either shoot a video on or do an infographic on or something to that effect, or even just show a tip over an image. But the answer to that question, okay, what are some of your frequently asked questions? And then curate content. What I mean by that is, in the social media world, I literally get hundreds of articles every day about social, but I only post one or two that I think would be the most valuable to you. I am your filter for social media content. I want you to be the filter for your audience. You guys get industry articles and industry infographics and everything all day long. Only share the best. And that in itself is of value. Does that make sense? Be a curator of content. Okay? I mentioned number 2, entertain. More funny, more money. So you can find lots of memes and such out there that are related to your industry. You can try to create them. But just remember that Facebook is a very noisy environment. So if you can make me laugh or lighten the mood, it's also a very negative environment right now, the more engagement you will get. All right, so when you see funny things, when you are a part of a funny thing or something like that, if you've got somebody who's got a lot of humor within your business, great opportunity to play with that a little bit when it comes to social content. I mentioned humanize your brand, community, transparency, authenticity. Okay, just think about that when it comes to creating content. Mentioned indirectly sell, we're good there. Okay, so this is my magic resource for you guys. How many of you are experts in Canva? Raise your hand. Big smile on your face. You love it, don't you? It's awesome, huh? How much does it cost you? Nothing. Isn't that great? So it's canva.com, and this is the magic secret tool that all of the little techies and people that you think are so much smarter than you use to create really amazing looking graphics with images and content on them. And it's really, really easy to do and use. You can bring in images. You can use images that they have in their library. I will caution you to not just start taking, Star Wars images and things like that, because you could get your hand slapped. You could get in some trouble for that. There's so many sites out there now that are royalty free. Pixabay is one that we use. Pixabay. Pixabay is one that we use. Shutterstock has royalty-free images. You can actually filter Google images that will only show you royalty-free images. Just be careful with that. Okay, but you bring them in here and the magic will happen inside here. Now here's a really cool thing. They will also show you, so let's just say you said, Corey said we got to be using images more. So what about some of you got to work on this. Your Facebook business pages, that big cover photo you have there, it's just like this narrow, crappy photo. And you're diminishing credibility there. So you bring in a really neat photo into Canva and you tell them that you want to use it as your Facebook cover photo. They'll tell you the exact dimensions that it needs to be and where the writing will appear that people can see. Okay, they literally walk you through that, and then you just download the image and you put it in there. Instead of that crappy looking photo you had in there, now you have a beautiful one. So can you have somebody in your company do that for you who knows more about it? Sure, but this is a tool that almost anybody can use to create nice images with great content. Any questions on that? It's called canva.com. How much is it? Free. There is a pro version, but we use a free version and it works great. You use Canva to create what we call snackable content. So that's like bite-sized pieces of content, right? So tips, valuable pieces of information in bite-sized pieces. You kind of think back to the Twitter days. It's even smaller than Twitter now, right? So just small tips. Let me talk about hashtags for a second because it's very, very critical when creating video and images, especially in Instagram. One of the things that I want you guys to do leaving here, nobody in this room is allowed to leave here without knowing what their anchor hashtag is. What that means is you need to have your branded hashtag that you use for everything. Now, the easiest one would be your company name. But it doesn't have to be that. So we have a company that we work with in the travel industry called Ciao Bambino, and they're a travel company, and they work with families. So their anchor hashtag is Ciao Family. Okay? The anchor hashtag for this conference is SEMA 2017. What is your anchor hashtag for your business? Everybody clear on that? Have it, own it, use it all the time, and when your customers are posting online, which I just told you is so important, make them use the anchor hashtag as well. Encourage them to use the anchor hashtag. Don't forget. This is so important because if you ever get a customer who was proud of a product they used of yours and they post it on social and they don't use a hashtag or tag you, you may never see it. And that's the worst thing in the world. But if they use that hashtag, all you have to do is search the hashtag on either the Instagram or Facebook or one of the many tools that you can use, and every post that's ever used that hashtag will show up for you. You're like, oh my gosh, Barney Smith posted about us a year ago and I didn't even thank him. It's like the greatest testimonial in the world. You'll see stuff like that you never saw, because you didn't know to search it. So anchor your business with a hashtag. Questions? Does that make sense? Who has an anchor hashtag? Okay, what's yours, guys'? Eckler's? Hashtag Eckler's, okay. And what kind of products do you guys do? Restoration, okay. So that would make sense. And it's a distinctive enough brand where that would probably be okay, right? But you could add your products. Somebody back there was Land Rover or whatever. It could be, you could have Land Rover at the end of it if you wanted to, right? So make sure your community uses that hashtag. Also, use hashtags that are common into your industry. So obviously, hashtag Land Rover, hashtag BMW, if that's the car that you guys spend the most time on. So use the common hashtags to drive more engagement. But I'll tell you right now, if you're not using, especially on Instagram, 3 or 4, 5 or 6 hashtags that your community is actively searching, you're really missing out. So I want you to think about the 3 or 4, say 3 to 5, keywords, common words that your audience cares about, and use those in your posts and watch the engagement soar. Seriously. If you're not using hashtags properly, you're really missing the boat, especially on Instagram, especially on Twitter. And Facebook, they've been slower to that for whatever reason, but it's coming year in and year out. They're getting better and better with their hashtag searches. Good on that? Then there's a really cool tool called Hashtagify or Top Hashtag. You guys can just Google those 2 words, and they're search engines for hashtags. So you can type in a hashtag, and they'll tell you how popular it is, and then give you synonyms or other choices that you might use in addition to it. Free tools for finding cool hashtags. Anybody not know the difference between a hashtag and an @ by raise of hand? You guys good on that? @ tags the business, hashtag is the keyword. If you don't, come up at the end and I'll explain that to you. I don't want to take the time now. Okay, most importantly, using Facebook Live. Facebook users spend 3 times more time watching live videos than traditional videos. One of the biggest mistakes I see with businesses and just people in general is that you wonder why you're not getting great views and engagement to your live videos. It's because you have them set to private. Don't do that. So the next time you guys shoot a live video for either your business or your personal page, make sure in the settings, and I show you right here, and I will email you this slide, you go to More, View Privacy Shortcuts, Who Can See My Stuff, and you hit it to Public. All right, now let me just be clear. Let me back up for 1 second. A question I often get about Facebook Live is, can you do it from your personal page or your business page? What's the answer to that? Both. So you can do it both. And then the second question I get is, which one should I do? In your industry, I would highly recommend probably the business page, because you probably don't have a ton of prospects that are connected with you personally, but maybe you do. There's pluses and minuses to both. You'll get generally more engagement from your personal page than you will your business page. But if your customers and prospects are more likely to see it on your business page, use that. Now, the other thing is, gone are the days that we can publish content on our business page and not pay to play. And I'm going to talk about this more tomorrow, but if you don't have an advertising budget for Facebook, you're doing it wrong. That sucks, but it's unfortunate, but it is. That's just the way it is today. You guys know that, right? If you organically post a message to your Facebook business page right now and you have 100 fans, only about 8 of them even have a chance to see it, unless you spend some money. Not a lot of money, but some money. $15, $10, $20, $40 to boost it. So once you shoot a live video on your business page, you're going to spend some money to boost it, and you're going to watch your engagement soar. That's what Facebook wants you to do, okay? So you got to have some budget behind it. We don't get the type of results we get by simply just organically posting it. Most people don't. So here's a live case study from one of our clients. What we did is, once your video is published, you promote the post with a small budget to a targeted audience. Now, some of you mentioned this is where it gets really cool with Facebook, that you have a very niche audience. Well, you can target that audience to age, to male, female, to interests, which is just a very powerful one, to location, and so on and so forth, to really narrow that audience to the type of people that you want that to see that video or that content. So make sure you get very comfortable with that. One recent promoted live video received over 1,300 paid views with a $20 budget. So then we copy and share so one question I get a lot is, once you go live, and I'm going to show you guys that in just a second, you recognize that it is a live video, right? When you click the live button, I got to make sure everybody's clear on this. It's live. It's live. Like, you sneeze and you say, let's do that again. No. It's live. You can't do it again. So that's the exciting as well as the scary part of the live aspect. But the good news is, once you hit publish, it does remain for as long as you want. You can delete it if you want, if you didn't like it. But you can also reuse it. It does stay as a recorded video. So what we do is we take what was once a live video, but now is a recorded video, and we syndicate it across platforms. We put it on LinkedIn. We tweet it. We put it on Instagram. We'll download it, which she said right here. Download your live video, so we'll actually bring it down back onto our computer and add a portion of it to our Instagram story and add a link to the video in your Instagram bio. So that's just one way for us to create some more engagement from their sister platform of Instagram through stories. Some of you know stories, but on Instagram, you have your normal feed posts, and then up at the top, you have these stories. And the nice thing about stories is if your brand does a story on Instagram, it sits up there at the top. It's great real estate. And so if I'm navigating Instagram and I look up at the top and I see ABC Business and I click on your story and it's a quick little video of you showing off a car or showing a really cool, part or whatever the case may be, and that's my interest, it's a great opportunity for you to get engagement there. So that's called Instagram Stories, and you can put video in stories. Encourage your entire team to share the video to kind of gain some momentum with the video at the beginning, okay? Is everybody clear on that? So here are just 2 results, different results of some different live videos that our clients have done. So these are more standard value add person-to-person type live videos. These are the toughest to do, by the way, for you guys, and I get that. This is literally you sitting in front of the camera and talking to people. And the reason I say that's tough is because you got to be the one that's providing the value. And I would say for you, you may want to show off stuff that you have around you that is the value, right? So I would want you to do that. But in this case, they're talking to their clients. But you can see, and the reason I show you this is, we had almost 2,000 views. So when it says 3,000 people reached, that just means that people saw this picture, but the people who actually played the video was 18,000. Now, some people have autoplay on their things, so I will be clear that some of those statistics can be, but the bottom line is they had almost 2,000 people either watch the video or have it autoplay on their Facebook page. Not bad for a very, very small business. And then this is just a CEO of a company, but he has over 6,000 views on his video. Way more than anything else we've ever done for him when it comes to pictures, putting videos on YouTube, all that kind of stuff. Nothing compares to live video on Facebook. Okay? Good? So let me let you guys just kind of marinate on this for a second. So we got a little time here. What would you guys do as a live video? So now I got you hopefully a little bit engaged and excited about Facebook Live, but what would you guys do? You know, what could you do that you feel like you'd be comfortable enough that people would be interested in? Does anybody have any ideas? Yes, sir.
Well, can I reverse the question? I've actually deleted a lot of them because they don't grab me the moment I open.
So he said I delete a lot of them because they don't grab me the moment I got them. Okay. Is that so? You're just saying be wary of that.
What do you do to create? What's the opener?
So. And let me give you a really good piece of that. The title and description, which I'm glad you mentioned because that's critical. The title of the video and the description of the video is a big part of whether or not I'm going to get you, at least for the first 30 seconds, okay? Yes, ma'am.
My company has a golf product, and we do live videos every time we go to a new golf course like Torrey Pines or Pelican Hill. And people love to see these very prestigious golf courses, especially if they're not from California.
Yes. So virtual tours of, your products, your cars, your golf courses in that case. I love when our clients take the camera with us because it's more engaging than just one static spot. Very good. Yes, sir.
Like behind the scenes.
Behind the scenes. Great one. People, that's a great one. Behind the scenes, taking people where they don't normally get to go. Even in here. I don't even know if that's allowed, but, In the field product testing, yes. Very good. Yeah. Yes, sir. Burnouts. Hashtag burnouts. Yes. Product testing, yes.
Tips and tricks?
Tips and tricks. Yes. Tips and tricks.
I noticed if we show the product, like I do collision work, so if I start the video showing the picture of the crashed car, I got more hits opposed to me showing the video of me talking.
Nice.
So we start the video with talking about the car and looking at the smashed up car, then I get into talking about
Nice. So best practice there. Let me repeat that. He shows the image, the start of the crashed car, sort of the climax of the story, as opposed to him. And that's more engaging. It's them seeing the actual result of whatever you're talking about. Yeah, very good. Very, very good. Okay. So this is our little secret sauce here, how we turn a live video that we do and we syndicate it. I mentioned to you earlier, I take all my live videos and I put them in my email newsletter. How many of you, by raise of hand, have checked your email today? Raise your hand high. Look around the room. I just want to let you guys know that email's not dead. It's very alive and well. It's just hard to get our emails read and spread, right? So adding our live video in the emails, especially if they're cool and you're working hard creatively on them, great way to do that. Twitter profile, LinkedIn page, Instagram story, blog, mentioned all those to you before. So best practices for Facebook Live. Tell people ahead of time. Promote it beforehand. If you just go live right off the bat, which you still can do, but you're going to get a better bang for your buck if you promote it and then you be consistent. Once a week, once a month. I really want to encourage you, if you're going to take the leap here and you're going to do some Facebook Lives, schedule them out for the next 6 months, once a month or once a week. And let people know that every Tuesday at 2 p.m. it's going to be Burnout Tuesday. There you go. All right, and get them going with it so they can expect it. Name commenters by name. So you can see people commenting on the live video. And sometimes if it's recorded, obviously you won't. But while it's live, Steve says, great job, dude. That was the greatest burnout I've ever seen. You're like, thanks, Steve, man. I'm glad you're watching, and he gets that recognition. That's so cool. That's really neat. I mentioned be creative, write a good title and description, and be consistent. Okay, oops, hold on. Before I do this, I want you guys to pay very close attention. This is the first time I've ever showed this video, but it's worth showing and we've got time. This is one of the best tips I'm going to tell you, and I'm going to show it in a video, but if you learn nothing else, I hope you learn this.
This video didn't have to your video will end up looking like crap.
There are more and more people addicted to making vertical videos every day. It's not crap or nothing, but it's still really bad. There are two different kinds of people who are afflicted with VBS. The first group treats the videos they shoot like pictures. They don't mean any harm. They just don't understand that while you can turn a picture, you can't really turn a video.
The other group is people who don't give it.
Video syndrome is dangerous. Motion pictures have always been horizontal. Televisions are horizontal. Computer screens are horizontal. People's eyes are horizontal. We aren't built to watch vertical videos.
I love vertical video. Nobody cares about you.
If this problem's left unchecked, YouTube will begin showing 4 videos at once just to save bandwidth.
Letterboxed vertical videos will be the size of a postage stamp.
And it will spread everywhere. Movie screens have always been horizontal. If vertical videos become accepted, movie theaters will have to be tall and skinny.
No, the movie theaters would have to get torn down and rebuilt. By the time they were rebuilt, Mina Kulitz would be old and ugly. And we all get stiff necks from looking up.
No one will sit in the front row ever again.
And George Lucas will re-release Star Wars again. The skinny edition.
I was never really able to tell the story that I wanted to tell. And this was a great chance for me to experiment with the new technology.
You're a jerk.
Every time mobile devices used to record videos, the temptation is there. Just say no. Say no to George Lucas. Say no to old Mila Kunis. Say no to vertical video.
And if you see someone doing it, say, "You're not shooting that right, dummy."
Okay, everybody got that? From this point forward, yeah, applause, that's awesome. So go horizontal, not vertical. Now I will give one little caveat to that there are times where you're holding the camera or something to that effect, very few that I see, but people give a little bit more leeway to vertical if you're doing the whole selfie thing. But I'd really encourage you not to do that. And one thing you can get, you guys have it somewhere around here, but it's called the Claw, or you can go to Amazon, and it's basically a mini tripod for phones. Yeah, down there. It's under the table. Yeah, there's a bunch of versions of it, but basically you'll put your phone in there, and you'll be able to go live, and you'll be able to use your hands, or whatever, and you can even walk around with it if you want to. The other thing that I like to use is what's called an iMic. It's very inexpensive. It's not that expensive, but basically it's a handheld microphone that attaches to the phone, and that way, if you're far away from the phone, like 10 feet or so, you can still get great sound. Did you want to add something?
Yeah, millennial expert here.
Okay.
The only exception to this is Snapchat.
Right.
So don't be doing your horizontal videos on Snapchat because then
It doesn't work on Snapchat. Snaps need to be vertical, right? Thank you, hashtag millennial. Or is that like even earlier? Is it like Zennial or whatever? Yeah. Okay. Has anybody not gone live on Facebook that it was interested in going live? Raise your hand. Okay. Does anybody keep your hand up who'd be open to like coming up here for a second and me showing you how to do it? Does anybody want to try it? Anyone got any? All right, come on up. Give her a hand, everybody. Do you have your phone on you by any chance? I should have grabbed. Sorry. Grab your phone. And this is something that I just want to show you guys real quick. We don't have a ton of time, but and you can open up Facebook for me if you will, and come on up here. Thank you. Yep. So I'm just going to kind of walk you guys through this just for a second. We won't take long, but I just want to show her how easy it is. So she opened up Facebook, just like kind of everybody can see. And when you go to post something, what's on your mind, just like you have all the time.
You want to go to my business page?
No, we'll stay on your personal just for now, but you can go to your business page very easy. But you see the little live video icon right there, right? So you'll hit that. Now here's the thing. And now, so it says you can start live video. Yeah, we're okay there. So we'll get rid of that. Okay, so now is where you're going to add your description. Okay, so you would post in here maybe one tip that you learned at the social media presentation or something to that effect. We won't actually go live, but if you did that, you would tag that there, right? And then you would hit done. And then this is the time where we would turn it horizontal, not after we hit live, okay? Because once you do that, it's too late, and then it looks sideways. And the only reason I know that is because I've done that. So don't do that, okay? And then you'll just hit this camera guy right here, and son of a gun, you'll be live. And that's that. And then when it's over, you'll hit end, and then it'll ask you if you want to publish it or delete it. And you could delete it at that point. Does that make sense? Do you want to try it?
Sure.
All right. So you can either, we're going to do one tip to the people that are on your, at this case, personal Facebook page. Do you want to do a tip about your business or something that you learned in here today? Totally up to you. No pressure.
Something we learned here.
Okay, and you think about what you learned, and I'm going to ask you to come up here. I'm going to type in here, best tip I learned at a social media presentation. Okay, and then I'm going to hit done. I'm going to turn it vertical. See how it turned, and it actually is looking at us the right way. We're going to flip this around so he can see us. Actually, I'm sorry. First time in a big city. There you go. So, and I will kick us off,
Okay.
and then what before you go live, what tip are you thinking off the top of your head? Got one in mind?
Syndicating.
Syndicating across all platforms. So once you do a good piece of content, you'll syndicate it across your Twitter page, your Facebook, your Instagram, all that. Great. I'll start us off. Will you go ahead and hit the live button for us?
Yep.
Tell us when we're live. All right. Well, welcome everybody. I am with Randy here on her personal Facebook page, and this is her first time going live on Facebook Live. Congratulations for doing that.
Thank you.
So what Randy's going to do real quickly, she's in here with a few of her friends. You want to show her her friends real quick? Say hi, everybody. Randy's going to share one tip that she learned in this social media presentation. Randy, take it away.
Well, we learned today that sharing your great posts across all of your social sites is a really good idea to syndicate your posts.
That's awesome. And typically, I'll give you a couple more, folks. If you're interested in going live, you want to pre-promote it so that you can get some users in there. And you want to stay live for a few minutes because it takes a long time to gather an audience. Some people right now are seeing for the first time, it's saying Randy's gone live for the first time. So if we stayed on a little bit, they'd have a chance to see. So maybe the next time you did it, we'll have like 3 to 5 tips and you can stay on a little bit longer. Somewhere between 5 and 8 minutes is usually a good Facebook Live segment, okay? But for now, we're going to head out. I want to thank everybody. And since this was Randy's first time going live, this audience, before you go there, is going to give her the biggest round of applause, standing ovation you've ever seen in your entire life on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Look at these guys. Good job.
Thank you very much.
See you later. Thank you. Good job. Okay, so now...
I had a question during it, too.
Oh, you got a question during it. Oh, I'll have to look at that. So now you can hit post or delete, and I'll let you do that. All right, give Randy a hand. Thank you very much. So I promised you guys, besides this, I know you can't read that, and that's intentional. I created a best practices Facebook Live like cheat sheet for when you're going to go live, all the things that I talked about. I'll email this to you as well, along with the PowerPoint, okay? And so you just use it as your little cheat sheet. You know, things like going horizontal and now that. We're in here till 12:15, is that right? Or 12? 12:15, okay. Oops. Okay, I'm done here. I'm going to open it up for questions, but before we leave here, go away. Sorry. Stay with me. Talk amongst yourselves. All right. But I do want to leave you with one thing that's very important. No, looks like that closed out. Well, I know it from heart anyway. The biggest enemy to what we've talked about today is perfectionism. Don't do that. Don't be a perfectionist. Okay, Gary Vaynerchuk's great at talking about that, man. In 6 months, he'll get more content out there than we could ever imagine, and then there's other people who are sitting there for 6 months trying to put the perfect thing together, and it just doesn't work that way. All right, so I want you to be consistent, and don't worry if it's not perfect. Instead, I want you to, be consistent with it, all right, and try it, and you'll get better at it. And if you don't see the comments, that's okay. Don't worry about that. You can always answer them afterwards, okay? So, winners in the digital marketing space are producers, not perfectionists. Fish where the fish are. So, Instagram, Facebook primarily. Tomorrow, I'm going to talk a little bit more about those tools. I'm going to talk a little bit about your websites because I looked at them all and we need to talk about them. Search engines and some other stuff. So, come tomorrow, 11 o'clock. Don't try to do all this yourself. Get help. If you have, interns or people on staff or an agency like ours, whatever the case may be. Creativity wins on Facebook. This is the way we used to cook hot dogs at FSU, Florida State. Weren't the smartest guys in the world, but we knew how to cook some hot dogs. And that's it. I've got some books to sell here. Now, I only say this in Vegas because I got to be completely honest. Most likely, the cash that you give me is probably going to be left in Vegas in some form or fashion. But it's a great book. I promise you that. But I'll sign a copy for you. Cash only, just because there'll probably be a lot of people up here. So if you do credit, I'll find you later or tomorrow, and I'll try to get that for you. But it's $20, and I got lots of them if you would like to buy a book. And with that, who has the first question on anything we covered or didn't cover? Yes, ma'am.
So you talked about posting videos for testimonials. What about just text videos? And text testimonials? And is it okay to post it across all social sites?
Yeah, so text testimonials are fine. They're not my favorite. Obviously, I like video. But the one thing I'll say about text testimonials, bold the most important pieces of it so people see the things that you want them to see, because oftentimes they're kind of lengthy and nobody wants to read that. So bold the pieces that you care most about. And in some ways, you can summarize a testimonial, not change it, but actually summarize it and only say the most critical points. Okay? But I am okay with that as well. And you can put that behind graphics on Canva. Yes, sir.
Not to hijack it, but if anybody has shops where people work and everything, there's a camera called Amiibo.
Yes.
It will upload directly to your Facebook Live. It's like $300, but you can set it up in the shop, hit it to go, and it will upload automatically to your Facebook Live. So we'll set it up in the wood shop and let the guys go, and it'll follow them. It's motion activated, so it'll follow them around the wood shop as they work.
That's awesome. And only $300?
Yep.
That's great. Meebo. Spell that?
MEBO.
MEBO. This is Google Meebo. Thank you.
The length of time for a video without losing somebody.
Yeah, so the length of time for the video, the short attention spans, you have to keep that in mind. But when it comes to live videos, like I mentioned before, it does take some time for Facebook to generate a live audience for you. So you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable and staying around for a little while. Just make sure you've got the content or the agenda. If you're touring people around the wood shop, have some things to show them around. And by that point, it's going to be 7, 8, 9 minutes. With our travel agents, they do destinations and they talk about them. They go about 18 minutes. And, we get peaks and valleys, but, it gives Facebook time to generate the audience. And you don't have to watch the whole thing. But doing a 1 minute, 90-second Facebook Live, at least from a live standpoint, is not going to do you much good. Yes, sir. Do you need the app? No, not anymore. No. So the question is, do you need the app? No, you can go from your desktop on Facebook Live now. Just make sure that you have the most updated version of Facebook on either your iPad, but you can also do it on most desktops. Yes?
What are your thoughts on 360 video?
My thoughts on 360 video?
Is it engaging to viewers? Is it, or is it just,
Tell me specifically what you mean by that. I guess I'm not following.
I feel like you have to spend some more time to kind of look around in the space. So you have to, use a lot of the viewers' time.
Yeah, to get to everything. I would just say, my answer to that, because I'm not really uber familiar with that, is measure and test. Maybe try one or two and see how the engagement goes, and then try one that's a little bit more, standard, and see if what you get more engagement on. But that should be your clear answer, okay? Test, measure and test. Any other questions? Yes?
Is it better to add captions on Facebook videos or not?
Yes. I mean, yeah, add any content that they will allow for content. Yes, definitely make sure you have content. What do you mean captions? Oh, I know what you mean. Subtitles. Yes. If you can, it's not optimal, but just think about it from a user perspective. You guys have seen it where you keep your phone or your video muted, but you want to be able to see it. So it's become very easy now. So if you start doing these live standard, once it's recorded, you can get the subtitles on there, down there. Yes, 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 yes. And it becomes very, very helpful from an engagement perspective because a lot of people don't want to turn the sound on. Oh, yes, last question.
So let's say that you shot some video remotely doing something. Is there a way to do like a Facebook Live, but also, you're commentating, but then you want to show this little thing that you did. Can you inject that in somehow?
Yeah, so the question is, can you, it's gotten better in terms of how you can use Facebook Live. For example, now you can do split screen. I know that's not exactly your question, but it's something that triggered a thought that, if you have somebody at a different location, you can actually do both of you, which you were never able to do before. And in terms of, flipping the camera around or going to different segments, it's much more flexible now than it's ever been before. So I'm not exactly specifically sure on your question, but split screen and a lot of different things that you weren't able to do in the past you can do now. All right? Thanks, everybody. I'll hopefully see you tomorrow. Thanks for coming. I really appreciate it. Thank you.